There's a quiet kind of danger that no one talks about. It doesn't look like chaos, or rage, or fire. It doesn't wear a warning sign or shout in your face. No, it creeps in through clarity, through seeing things a little too clearly. And if you've ever found yourself looking around at the world and feeling like you're the only one who sees it, you already know what Alan Watts was getting at. Because when you see through the illusion, really see through it, it doesn't come with applause. It comes with solitude. It starts subtly. You're sitting in a meeting or scrolling through your phone.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
And suddenly the whole thing just feels hollow. Like you're watching a puppet show you've already figured out. Money, status, borders, social games, so much of it is just agreed upon fiction. Layers and layers of human-made concepts we pretend are as real as the sky. And if you see through that, congratulations, you're awake. But buckle up, because awakening doesn't make life easier. It makes it deeper, and sometimes harder. Alan Watts, in his characteristically disarming and poetic way, peels back the curtain on this paradox. Yes, insight brings liberation, but it also brings weight. Seeing what others don't means you often walk alone. Not because you want to, but because there just aren't that many people standing at the same altitude of awareness. And that loneliness, it's not a cliche, it's a real part of the path. But Watts doesn't stop there. He doesn't just point out the existential cost of seeing through the world. He offers something far more valuable, a way to live with it, a way to dance with the insight, instead of drowning in it. And it starts with this idea. Conscious distance. Imagine life as a theater. People are playing roles, some know it, most don't. The drama is intense, the stakes feel high, the emotions are raw. And there you are, backstage with a copy of the script and a view of the stage lights. Now you have a choice. You can storm out and yell it's all fake. Or you can smile, walk back on stage, and play your role, but this time, with grace, with humor, with the lightness that comes from knowing. Watts reminds us that awareness isn't meant to make us bitter or superior. It's not a license to scoff at the world's silliness. In fact, the moment you use insight to elevate yourself above others, you've already lost the plot. To play, knowing it's a play. That's the wisdom in Watts' message. The world may be illusion, yes, but it's not meaningless. It's a divine game, a cosmic theater, and your job isn't to escape it. Your job is to move through it with awareness and joy, knowing that the set will change, the costumes will come off, and no role lasts forever. And so, you begin to live differently. Not withdrawn, not cynical, not bitter, but awake, and fully in the world. You feel people's struggles without being consumed by them. You laugh more freely, because you understand how fragile it all is. You forgive faster, because you've stopped mistaking the role for the soul. You love deeper, because you know how temporary every embrace is. That's the real paradox of seeing clearly. It doesn't close you off, it opens you up. Even if it hurts sometimes. Even if you feel alone in it. Because awareness isn't just about seeing the illusion. It's about seeing through it and beyond it. Seeing the divine pattern under the noise. The subtle harmony underneath the chaos. The beauty behind the absurdity. And here's where Watts is really clever. He doesn't tell you to fix the world. He doesn't tell you to go on a spiritual crusade or lecture others into awakening. In fact, he warns against it. Because true wisdom doesn't evangelize. It embodies. Live it. Quietly, lightly, with kindness. Let your clarity ripple outward, not through force, but through presence. Because people aren't changed by arguments. They're changed by examples. And yes, there will be moments when it's exhausting. When you feel like you're carrying too much, seeing too much, feeling too much. That's when the practice of conscious distance becomes essential, not detachment in the cold, disconnected sense, but a gentle internal space, a still center. It's the space where you can say, I see it all, and I still choose to love. That's what keeps you from burning out. That's what keeps you sane. That's what keeps you soft, even when your awareness gets sharp. Watts calls it dancing within the theater of life with grace, not out of obligation, or performance, or duty, but because you understand the rhythm. You've heard the music, and you know the only thing left to do is move with it. There's power in that, quiet power, because the more you embody your awareness, the less you need to explain it. It starts to show in your energy, in your eyes, in the way you listen, the way you don't react to the madness, the way you smile when others panic, not because you don't care but because you know how little of it is real. And people feel that. They might not understand it. They might reject it at first, but eventually, they notice.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
And some of them might even ask, how do you stay so calm, so grounded, so here? And that's when the gift becomes a service. Your clarity becomes a lantern, not something to shine in others' faces, but something to carry, quietly, patiently, until someone else finds their own light. Because the truth is, awakening isn't about escaping the world, it's about loving it more fully than you ever could before. And when you can love life while seeing it clearly, that's freedom. Not the freedom of detachment, not the freedom of escape, but the freedom of joyful responsibility, to show up, to be kind, to participate fully, even when you know it's all impermanent. That's what makes the difference between awareness and wisdom. Because when the mask falls away, what's left isn't emptiness, it's everything. So hold your insight gently, carry it with humility, let it deepen your laughter, let it soften your heart, and above all, don't forget to dance. So, you see it, you see through it. The masks, the games, the frantic hustle, the unspoken rules, the fear dressed up as ambition, the loneliness hiding behind small talk, the entire glittering scaffolding of modern life carefully constructed, constantly maintained, and utterly hollow. And while the world goes on spinning, clinging to these illusions like lifelines, you've already slipped past the surface. You've stepped behind the curtain. You see that money isn't real in the way we pretend it is. That borders are lines in the sand drawn by history and fear. That success is often just approval in a costume. That people trade their lives for symbols, status, image, titles, believing the symbols are the thing. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. That's the danger Alan Watts was talking about. Because when you wake up in a world that's still asleep, it's not euphoric, it's isolating. It's not a shining beam of bliss, it's a strange, sharp quiet. You walk through crowded streets and feel alone. You sit at the dinner table and wonder why the conversations feel so far away. You nod, smile, play along. But part of you is elsewhere, floating above it, watching, not judging, not withdrawing, just aware. It's like discovering the secret script to the play everyone's performing in and realizing you're no longer sure what role you're meant to play. Do you go back into the scene and act like nothing's changed? Do you walk off stage entirely? Or do you learn to stay fully aware that it's a play and dance within it, with grace? That's the heart of Watts' message. Don't abandon the play. Don't run to the hills in some attempt to be more spiritual or above it all. Because guess what? That's just another illusion, another mask, another ego trip. The real mastery is learning to play the game while knowing it's a game, to engage without attachment, to participate without being consumed, to feel without clinging, to speak with depth, laugh with sincerity, and love without needing control. It sounds impossible, but it's not. It's just delicate, because once you've seen through the illusion, it's tempting to get cynical, to feel superior, to think, well, I get it. The rest of the world is delusional. But that's not wisdom. That's ego hiding in a new outfit. True seeing softens you. It doesn't harden you. Because when you really get it, you realize that the illusion isn't the enemy. It's part of the divine play. It's not something to reject. It's something to love, tenderly, patiently, like watching a child build a sandcastle, knowing the tide will take it, and letting them build anyway. Because the illusion isn't just something we're trapped in. It's something we're meant to experience. It's the canvas on which joy, sorrow, connection, and discovery unfold. The point was never to escape it. The point was to wake up within it and then keep living, with open eyes and an open heart. So, how do you live like that? Watts would say, with humility, with humor, with a light touch. You don't need to become a guru or write a manifesto. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. In fact, the moment you start trying to enlighten others, you've already fallen into a trap. Because you're not better than anyone. You're just seeing from a different angle. And that angle comes with responsibility. Not the responsibility to fix the world, but to love it better. To be kinder, softer, more present. To speak truth, gently. To offer clarity, not superiority. To hold space for others who haven't yet seen, or who aren't ready, or who have their own path that looks nothing like yours. Because awakening isn't a race. There's no finish line. No spiritual leaderboard. It's a slow remembering, a quiet unraveling, a becoming. And as you walk that path, as the fog continues to lift, you'll notice something curious. Life gets funnier. Not in a mocking way, but in an affectionate, cosmic way. You start to laugh more. At yourself. at the absurdity of it all, at how seriously we all take things that don't actually matter. You'll feel lighter, even when things go wrong, even when pain shows up, because pain still happens. Yes, even when you're awake. But now, it passes through you instead of sticking. You feel it, you let it move, and then it's gone. No story, no identity, just a wave you ride until the next one comes. There's a freedom in that, and maybe the most beautiful part. You begin to fall in love with everything. The mundane, the broken, the unnoticed, the awkwardness of a conversation, the way light hits a sidewalk, the gentle ache of a goodbye. Even the moments of confusion and doubt, they all become sacred, part of the dance. Because when you've stopped trying to grasp at meaning, when you realize that you are the meaning, every moment becomes enough. You don't need a grand plan. You don't need to win. You don't need to be understood. You just need to be here, now, dancing in the illusion with your eyes wide open. And sure, it's not always easy. Some days you'll want to scream. Some days you'll feel like retreating from the noise. And that's okay. Take space. Rest. But don't forget, the world needs people who see, not to lead, not to preach but to love more deeply, to walk into the fire of life with calm, to speak softly when others shout, to laugh kindly in the face of absurdity, to hold presence in the middle of chaos, to be a lighthouse, not because you shine, but because you stay. Stay soft, stay aware, and when it gets heavy, and it will come back to this truth, the world is not something to survive. It's something to love, even when it doesn't make sense, even when it breaks your heart. Especially then, because when you live with awareness, you don't get fewer storms. You just learn how to dance in the rain. So breathe, smile, step onto the stage, and play your part with all the grace and humor you've got. You already know the truth. Now let your life be the echo of that truth, not in words, but in presence. Because in the end, the only thing more powerful than seeing clearly is loving anyway. And that's the real awakening. So here you are, eyes open, mind clear, heart cracked wide. You're standing at the edge of the world everyone else thinks they understand, and you're holding something dangerous. Not a weapon, not a secret, something much quieter, but far more radical. Clarity. And what do you do with that? What do you do when you see the gears of the machine, the invisible lines everyone treats as gospel, the invisible scripts people perform without knowing they're in a play? Do you shout? Do you retreat? Do you try to warn them? Or do you do what Alan Watts suggests? Do you smile gently and keep dancing? Because here's the truth. Seeing what others don't doesn't make you a prophet. It doesn't make you special. It makes you responsible. Not for them, for you. For how you carry your perception. For how you hold your insight like a candle, not a torch. Not to burn others, but to light your own path, softly. Because when you see through the illusion, you still have to live in it. No escape hatch. No private island of enlightenment. Just here. Still breathing. Still shopping for groceries. Still paying bills, still answering how are you, with good, even when your soul is mid-migration. And that's the danger, isn't it? To see the puppet show and forget how to love the puppets. To wake up and get bitter that everyone else is still asleep. To stop playing because you think the game is rigged. But here's what Watts reminds us again and again. The point isn't to win the game. It's to play it beautifully. It's to remember that life isn't a problem to solve. It's a dance, a performance, a piece of music. And your role, once you've seen through it, isn't to sit backstage and critique, it's to step out with full presence and make it art. Because yes, awareness can make you lonely. It can make you ache. There are moments where the world feels so out of sync with what you know is real that you wonder if you've gone mad. You start to speak more carefully. You laugh when things aren't funny. You cry when no one else does. But then something shifts. You stop trying to explain what you see, and you start to live it. You listen more. You speak less. You start offering people space instead of answers. You stop trying to save them and start trying to see them. Really see them. As they are, wherever they are in their path. Because you remember you were once there, too. Maybe you still are. Because awakening isn't a destination. It's a spiral. A dance you come back to over and over again, each time shedding a little more illusion, each time falling a little more in love with what is. You stop asking, when will they wake up? And you start asking, how can I love them better while they sleep? And that right there is where the magic begins. Because now, your insight doesn't isolate you. It animates you. It gives you the fuel to move through the world not as a cynic, but as an artist. A quiet rebel. A gentle warrior for presence, for depth, for beauty. You laugh more not because life is a joke, but because it's so heartbreakingly precious. You forget faster not because people stop hurting you, but because you see how much they're hurting themselves. You let go more easily not because things don't matter, but because you understand they can't stay. And through it all, you begin to live with this soft, strange, luminous courage. The courage to stay tender in a world that rewards hardness. The courage to be silent when everyone's shouting. The courage to be kind when it's easier to be clever. The courage to live without needing to be understood. And so, you keep walking. With awareness in your eyes and joy in your step. Not a joy that denies suffering but one that includes it. That holds it. That lets the tears fall without turning them into a story. You become the kind of person people feel safe around without knowing why. You become the pause in someone else's chaos. You become the reminder that peace is possible not as a theory, but as a way of being. And you won't always get it right. You'll snap. You'll stumble. You'll fall back into illusion, again and again. That's part of it. That's the rhythm. But each time, you'll return quicker. You'll laugh sooner. You'll forgive deeper. Because now you know, awakening isn't about perfection. It's about participation. It's about saying yes to this bizarre, brilliant theater of life fully, honestly, humbly. It's about bowing to the mystery. About dancing in the dark. About showing up, not to prove anything, but to be everything you already are. Alan Watts didn't promise that awareness would be easy. He just promised it would be real. That it would hurt and heal in equal measure. That it would strip away what's false, but only to reveal what's eternally true. That behind all the masks and madness, there's still something beautiful. Something eternal. Something playful. And it's you. It's all of us. So if you see what others don't, if your eyes are open and your heart feels like it's breaking under the weight of everything you understand, don't run. Don't numb. Don't fight. Just breathe, smile, and keep dancing. Because the world doesn't need more people yelling from the sidelines. It needs people who've walked through the fire and come out softer. Who've seen the illusion and still choose to love. Who've tasted truth and made it into art. Let that be you. Let your presence be your rebellion. Let your joy be your protest. Let your love be your legacy. And when it all feels too much, remember, you're not alone. There are others walking quietly beside you, eyes wide, hearts open, holding the same gentle knowing. And if you listen closely, you'll hear it. Not in words, not in ideas, but in the silence between them. That's where the real message lives. That's where you live, now. Welcome home. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the small percentage of people who don't just click away, and that means a lot. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts, your ideas, or even what you'd like to see next. I read every single one of them, and your feedback genuinely shapes the direction of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, tap that like button. It tells YouTube this content is worth sharing. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. We've got more exciting videos coming, and trust me, you'll want to be here for them. This channel is just getting started, and your support helps it grow faster than you realize. Thank you again for spending a part of your day here with me. Stay curious, stay motivated, and as always, take care of yourself. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.